Greetings, PCGen enthusiasts. This is Andrew Maitland with the PCGen project, coming today to go over the changes that are coming in the 6.6 cycle and how it affects primarily the class file. As you can see on the screen here, I've got my Edit Plus text editor up, and I've got a blank template that you can use to take advantage of the newer functionalities. Now, this is a combo between the 3.5 and Pathfinder, and I've also included the Pathfinder Unchained supplement. So I don't know if you're familiar with the Pathfinder Unchained, but it does a fractional base attack bonus progression and a fractional save progression, which is for multi-class users. So that's what this all is here. So just going from this top, the XXX is basically your class name in its full glory. So I actually have the Bard from the core rulebook for Pathfinder up. So that was what I was going to demo here for today. So it is a D8 hit die. So I'm just going to put my 8 right there. Since it's Pathfinder, it's a base class, it has a max level of 20. Since we know it's a base class and it's for PCs, we can take away the prestige and monster. And that's the beautiful thing about this template. It's got everything ready to fill in, and then whatever you don't want or don't need, go ahead and just remove. Bard abbreviation, BRB, I believe. No, let's be right back. Here's Bard. And Bards are more of support, so I'll just put it as a class type support. And we get down to define, and there's the triple Y, and you'll see this is spread all throughout the file. So what you can do with the XXX and triple Y is replace it with the class name. I'm going to do a selection here because I got more stuff below. So just replace all that. Oop. Nothing like technical difficulties. Go with the Bard, not a Nard. Okay, and then for the Y, if this was a Bardic Muse and there was a space between Bardic and Muse, you'd want to remove that. You can't have any symbols other than underscore and no space or other symbols. So we'll just select that all again, and now we have everything set up. This is on page 34 of the book, and the way PCGen does it is, when's the first name show up, that's the page we use. Even if there's no useful information on that page, I want to send you the page where it starts and let you go from there. And I'm just going to grab the skills here just to save myself some time. It's got 6 skill ranks per level, so you just put that number in, 6. We don't do the plus intelligent because PCGen already does that calculation for you. And then the C skill right here, put in your skills, and then with a fancy find and replace editor, you can do this. Put it all in one line with one simple click. And then if you do this for a hobby living like I do, you can go and preset these little replacements, and then quickly go through, remove the tag appends. So there goes charisma. This is intelligence. You can see these are just closing in together as I'm going through here. And then last but not least is dexterity. So with that done, our last job for the skills here, find the groups. Put the type, because there's more than one craft, so we group it by craft skills. There's more than one knowledge, so we group it by knowledge skills, since they're not individually called out. Anything that's all or just a word means it's the group. And now we have everything handled. You want to get rid of ands and spaces. The only thing separating these skills is this pipe. Pipe for each one. Otherwise it should match the name identically. Okay, going back up here, PCGen, has these nice formulas. I've already listed what they are up here just for a quick reference. Pathfinder actually made this system really easy. If you have 6 hit die, you have a poor BAB. If you have 8 hit die, you have a moderate BAB. If you have 10 or 12 hit die, you have a full BAB. So I've already put this in here. So we have the three to choose from. Your full, your moderate, and your poor. So a bard, being a 8 hit die, has a moderate base attack bonus. And a moderate base attack bonus is basically, if you were to come over and look at the chart, a full attack starts with 1, it's 1 for 1 there all the way through, ends with 20, 15, 10, and 5. With a moderate, it starts with 0 and it ends with a 15, 10, 5. With a poor, it starts with 0 and it ends with a 10, 5. So that's how often the number increases by 1 point. So for us in PCGen, that's either 1 every 2 levels, 3 divided by 4, or 1 for 1. So we just remove the non-applicables. And if you wondered, oh, I just took out 2, that's because I have 1 for each group. And the reason why we have 2 of these, we have a BAB and we have a variable, is if you have an alternative base attack progression, we want you to be able to switch that out easily. So that's why there's 2 separate variables that are triggered here. One to turn it off and one to turn on the fractional base attack bonus. So this will actually feed into a master ability and run the numbers for you behind the scenes. So it collates all the numbers together, then calculates. So you get that fractional increase. And let's see here. For the bard, poor saves start with 0s, end with 6s. Goodwill saves start with 2 and end with 12. That's true only for a full base attack or base progression. Prestige classes in Pathfinder are a little bit different. The good one will start with a 1 and then proceed. And I can't recall what the poor does, but for the formula for a prestige, it's basically +1 divided by 2. I think is how that works out. Okay, so we identified that the reflex and will saves are the good saves on a bard. So we take away the good there, the poor there, the poor there. And then we take out the good here, poor, poor. Pretext is just basically something to display on the user interface. So you can go ahead and just put whatever you want there. This is usually your prerequisites for prestige classes. If you have a paladin or a druid, and must be lawful good. And then if you want that to actually stick, pre-align lawful good right there. Bards don't adhere to any of that restriction, so we can remove that. Bards are arcane casters. They do not memorize. And they use charisma for their spell stat. Okay, and then your caster level here. It's already set up for your bard. Pretty fancy stuff going on right here. Handles all rigmarole. The only thing you need to be concerned about is this one right here. Is it arcane, divine, or some other? And that comes into play for certain feats and certain abilities. For prestige classes that add caster levels, you can just uncomment this. You can either do 1 for each, or a cheat technique here is repeat level for pretty much, repeating every level. You have a full progression. It starts at 2 and then has a full progression. You can still, do it 2 and then repeat every level. You can skip. There's some pretty fancy stuff you can do with the repeat level tag. But bards don't have that. And this is set up for epic levels. Pathfinder doesn't use epic levels. So that just leaves us with a class ability tag. It's already pre-set up to use the UI display because we assume that classes are going to want to be able to see those displayed in your UI. So the format's going to be your bard some class feature here. I'll show you how you actually do those up. And then in front is your level. However, for your Unchained stuff, we're only doing this now. One, ability class, automatic, the class name. And the rest of this would be handled elsewhere. So that is a definite change to how we're coding things up because the Unchained stuff requires us to switch between the two variations or more variations that may come down the pike. So we're not having a million different bards that you've got to choose from, and it prevents the overlap of I'm going to be an Unchained bard for level 1 and then we got to do a lot of fancy coding. Okay, moving on. Class feature. So your class name, let's see here, we got our, let's use Bardic Knowledge. That's an easy one. So this is what Bardic Knowledge looks like. That's it on one line. And then I just change it to what I have down here. Actually, and the text goes here. So I can just go select that line. Selection already here. And then I got my class feature. It is an exec. So just switch to that. Replace. And now this is here. It appends the extraordinary, which I put in. I can put in my page number, which should be 36, I think. 35. So 35. You got your descriptive, and then you're going to have these two X's. So the two X's are the class name. It's very important because this is what is keyed up in the ability category that you're going to have to set up. Take the feature name, put it after the little tilde. So this is a bard, Bardic Knowledge. So the class is bard, granting that. If this is an Unchained bard, so we don't know what's going to be different. Unchained, Unchained. Like I said, this is basically the same thing right here, only a little bit fancier with what I'm doing. But it's the same principle. You toss this in between the text and the descriptive and fill in the blanks right in here. Okay, last little sample here is races. Been looking at these, prepping for this formula parser, been in talks with a few other coders. This is basically a raw template that you can use for either a PC race or a monster race. So obviously X's are your master name. So if we want to do a halfling, we have a halfling, and then you just replace all the X's. So there you go. You can have a kit. Like I said, anything you're not going to use, you can remove. So we know that halflings are small. Don't know what page they're on right now, but they are a humanoid. Now for creatures that have racial levels, the Y's all match. So this is for your type, in case you change your type later. Your humanoid, how many levels? Say it's a 3. Most humanoids have their race as their subtype. You can also do extraplanar, chaotic, your alignments basically. Anything that's important would go here. Now you can leave this as 0 for your walk and then do a fancy variable, but for most purposes it's a lot easier just to put in the movement rate straight and leave the fancier stuff for when it comes down the pike. Maneuverability is a 1 through 5 scale, 1 being the worst and 5 being the best. 5 is your perfect, 4 is good, 3 is average, 2 is poor, and 1 is clumsy. That's only for if you have a fly speed. So if you add fly, now I have a fly speed, and you would add maneuverability. Natural armor is as it says. If they have natural armor, great. If not, remove it. Face and reach are automatically granted, but just in case you're curious, it's 5 and 5 for both. Most humanoids have 2 legs and 2 hands. Sentient creatures all need a start feats 1. Racial bonuses go here. If you put this anywhere else other than a race file, and you want it to show as a racial, you need to append the type racial for it. Do not append it if the tag, however, is in the race file. It automatically assumes that and appends it properly. CR can be 1, 0.5, whatever. Level adjustment is not a Pathfinder thing. We don't normally have default halflings. We don't worry about hit die advancement. That's a 3-5 where creatures increase in size based on hit die. And you can either use this old method, or if the halfling has like a bite attack, since Pathfinder uses pretty standardized rules now, you can do that. That will give you a size appropriate bite. If you need to decrease it or increase it for whatever reason, bonus, weapon proficiency, bite, damage, size. Up 1, down 1. Pretty simple stuff. And then with this, because we do a lot of abilities, category, internal, and then depending on how easy you want to make this on yourself, you can do special ability, and then your type, race, so halfling, race, trait. Because if you look up here, I got racial trait. So Pathfinder actually uses racial. It gets a little confusing because racial traits are the inborn stuff, and race traits are a subcategory of the trait grouping. So hopefully that doesn't confuse you too much. They said if they could redo it in an article, they would have probably gone with a heritage or something like that for the racial stuff. But that's how you would add that. Now if you got swapping, you're going to want to change that. If you want to display on the UI, pretty much verbatim, and then you want to set up your ability categories. And I'll just show you that real quick using an existing file, because sometimes using the existing stuff is the easiest way to do it. So for class, let's use the Bard. And then for the halfling, right there. So as you see, same exact name matches there. This, for the newer standards, would be this. And then racial abilities, class features. Your visibility is qualify, so if there's something there, it shows up. If not, don't mess with it. Editable, if I need to switch things around. Special ability, right there for to display on the OS, the output sheet. And this is not a fractional pool that we need to worry about. So that's pretty much all the importances of how to do class and race. And like I said, most of these are templates. You can find them in our Zen test folder that the development team has on their Git. If you want access to that, more than happy to share it. Also, as of 6.5.6 when it comes out, you should be able to go to your data folder, into Homebrew, My Pathfinder campaign, and you will see that I took the time to update all of this for you. Added the align, data controls, the saves, the stats, updated the abilities so you have the same templates. You just put this all on one line. This is just for easier readability and some demonstration of how the class and the race works. Give you the class feature, the racial trait, or the race trait, whichever one you want to use. Bio settings didn't touch. Class, pretty much the exact same one I just showed you today. Companion mods are using the same stuff. If it's got this spacing like this, it's also supposed to be on one line. Just did that for ease of use for people coming after me. DDs are using our new fact and fact sets. Domains, not sure if I updated the domain, doesn't look like it. Our equipment, general equipment, magic items are non-existent. Feats with the new category feat included. Kits, no change there as far as I know. Languages should be pretty much self-explanatory. The proficiencies don't change. The race, a lot more complicated, but this is just for people that are homebrewers coming after me. And the skills show you the new way of doing it for Pathfinder, how your spells should look, and then templates shouldn't have changed at all. And that's it for me, signing off. Till next time.